Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com, and this is a Samsung Galaxy Prevail from Boost Mobile. Boost Mobile has finally picked up a decent mid-range Android smartphone with the Prevail. It's $180, no contract, and obviously you can get it on Boost Mobile's unlimited data plan. So I've been testing it out, putting it through its paces. I'm going to do a full review and go into a lot of detail on how exactly it performs and what I think about it as a phone, as a smartphone. So it's the Galaxy Prevail from Boost Mobile. I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Let's go check it out. Okay, so this is the Samsung Galaxy Prevail from Boost Mobile. And first of all, one of the things that I really liked about the phone, just in terms of hardware before I get into the phone itself, is the design. A lot of times I think with mid-range phones on prepaid carriers, we kind of lower our standards and don't really expect much in terms of a design and making it look nice or unique. And on top of that, it's made by Samsung. They're kind of known for making phones without not the best build quality, mostly just made out of plastic. But I was really impressed with the design of the Prevail because it is kind of unique and really different. It makes it look really nice. On the sides, well, actually on all the edges, you can see it has this chrome accent, which isn't very different. But then on each tip, you can see it kind of curves and then comes to a point there, and the same here. Just an interesting little design there that kind of makes it look a little cool. And you can barely tell on the ends here, it tapers down in just the slightest, and you might not be able to tell that, but it just gives it a little more curve, so it's not just a straight edge. And then the back, this is actually kind of a rubberized texture. It is obviously still made out of plastic, but it does have that nice finish. It just makes it look a little more unique, not so much like a cheap basic phone. It kind of gives it just a nice feel to it. So I was really impressed with the design. That might not be a big deal to everyone, but to me, it definitely impressed me. So moving on to this display here, this is a 3.2-inch display. Not a whole lot to talk about. It has a resolution of 320 by 480, so pretty basic. Don't really expect much. It does look good. It's very clear. It's very bright. But it is going to be kind of pixelated once you get close to the text. The pictures aren't going to be the best quality. But overall, it was good enough. The display is pretty much what you would expect. You can see that it's stock Android, and so you have the dock here at the bottom. It is Android 2.2. We can go to the settings, and let's see that it actually ships with version 2.2.2, so a little more updated. No word yet on if it's going to get 2.3 or when it will. I assume that it's probably not going to, but it does at least ship with Froyo. Stock Froyo, stock Android, dock at the bottom. You have your home screens and then the notification bar. Even though it is stock Android, I noticed a couple of custom Samsung elements, and it's not a whole lot, so don't let that scare you away, but just a couple of things. For example, the email icon, you can see it's kind of similar to the email icon on Samsung's other devices that feature TouchWiz. Even though this doesn't have it, it's just some custom Samsung features like that. Also, the sound effects are similar to the sound effects on the Samsung Galaxy S devices. So it's not TouchWiz by any means. It is stock Android, but just little design elements like that. I don't think it's any reason to buy it or not buy it, but just kind of little minor things that I noticed. Now this is a 3.2-inch display, like I said. So one of the things that you always kind of worry about is the keyboard. It's going to be a little smaller. I have small hands, so I really didn't have any problem with it. But if you have larger hands than mine, which really is no amazing thing, it might be a little more difficult. However, you can't always use it in landscape mode, so that's going to help out a lot. Not only that, but it also ships with the swipe keyboard, and so sometimes that makes it a little easier when it is a smaller display because you don't have to use both thumbs, and you don't have to press the key. You can just slide to it, and then I really don't know what I was trying to type there. I went to THUE. Let's go thir. Anyway, so having the swipe keyboard helps, but if you don't like swipe, if you just prefer the stock Android keyboard, it's not too bad because if it's too small here, you can use it in landscape mode. In terms of messaging, again, stock Android, obviously it does have threaded text messaging, and didn't really have any problems with that. Now, whenever I first did the unboxing and I went over the specs, I expected it to be, pretty high-performing device, not a high-end device, but to perform well enough. It ships with a 800 megahertz Qualcomm processor, which is pretty good, and that plus the fact that it uses stock Android and no custom skin overlay, I figured that performance would be pretty smooth, that I wouldn't have a lot of problems in terms of lag and things like that. Custom skins, they add, it's a lot of weight in terms of what the phone, has to handle, on a second-to-second basis in terms of, having these apps open and then at the same time another basically, huge custom program running on top of everything else. So I'm thinking, it should probably do pretty well. However, I turned out to be wrong. Overall, general everyday activities, you can see sliding through the home screens, not a big deal. It's pretty smooth. However, I did have a lot of problems with it would randomly freeze when I would try to open, say I would go to the browser and then, I changed my mind, or, maybe I wanted to go to something else and then I decided to go to the market. Sometimes when I would have just a couple of apps open at one time, it would freeze, it would lock up, and then sometimes I wasn't even doing anything. I just maybe unlocked the screen and then was going to try to open a program or something. It would lock up, and there was actually a couple of times where I had to just turn off the phone because it just completely froze. I couldn't do anything, and I actually couldn't even turn it off. I would hold down the power button, and that wouldn't even work. I had to actually take the battery out. So really disappointing there. It could just be me. Sometimes you just get one device that turns out to be, a bad device. But I will say that I had problems with it being kind of glitchy. It froze on multiple occasions, and a couple of times, I did just have to take the battery pack out. So disappointing there, but maybe test it out and see if it does the same thing for you. Now, on the back here, you see it has a 2 megapixel camera, fixed focus. It doesn't have a front-facing camera, obviously, mid-range device, but it's a 2 megapixel camera. It does capture video, nothing really to talk about again, QVGA video, 320 by 240. Even the camera itself is really not much to talk about, and I get a lot of flack for this because I always say, 2 megapixel camera, that's not enough, or 3 megapixel, that's not enough. And, I understand it's not always about the megapixel count, and you have to take into consideration the caliber of the device that you're talking about. But, honestly, and after testing out the camera, I can still say this: 2 megapixels is not adequate for a device. I don't care if it's a low-end device. I mean, there's free feature phones that have a better camera than that. And so I was really disappointed. Fixed focus, at least give us an autofocus. And, after testing it out, again, the camera quality was what I expected, which was not good at all. It is a camera. I mean, and so you can use it for snapshots. You can use it for, basic pictures that you'll save for like maybe a week and then delete, but just overall, I was disappointed by the camera. It's on a prepaid carrier, and so, most people on prepaid carriers understand that they're not getting the best in terms of media, performance, hardware, and all of that. So, you may not think that's a huge deal, but I'm just going to point it out. If that's what you're looking for, the Prevail is not for you.